He's like it.
Okay, I'll call this August 20th, 2014 meeting of the Carroll County Commissioners to order. The first item on the agenda is public input. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have, over the past several weeks, submitted a couple of information requests, and I have not yet received a response. It had been suggested to me that as a delegation member, we shouldn't have to file 91A requests. Just like the general public, information should be provided without taking that step. The first piece of information that I'm looking for is related to advance payments or loans, and information about any such advance payment that might have been provided from county funds. And I know there has been subsequent discussion that advance payments were only based on accrued time. So I had followed that up with another information request that it was sent to the Commissioner's mailbox. And I'll just read the questions to you for the record. Nothing in the personnel reference guidebook or any contract contains provisions for monetary advances for accrued time. Under what and whose authority are these advance payments made? Have any advance payments ever been made to a probationary employee? Have any advances ever been made to someone who has not the accrued time sufficient to cover the advance payment? Who authorizes the advance payment? HR director, department head, a vote of the commissioners, or a commissioner? Has any type of advance payment or loan from county funds been made to a current or former elected official? Has any type of advance payment or loan from county funds ever been made to an employee not based on accrued time? What documentation is initiated when an advance payment for accrued time is made? Any written signed agreement with the employee? And finally, under what circumstances have advance payments for accrued time been made? What is the definition of hardship? And who determines if a request is a hardship? I'm very interested in this information, and I would appreciate a response. I have delayed any 91A request out of courtesy to the commissioners, but we have a delegation committee meeting coming up next week, and I think these are questions that need to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Babson.
Representative Cardelli, I'm a little confused on your timeline. We received a 91A request from you.
Correct.
And I immediately answered it.
That's correct.
I don't remember now whether we sent you the answer, but at 6 o'clock Friday night, the next day, you wrote back and said you were withdrawing your 91A request.
That's
which
correct.
was very nice of you. Thank you. Then you sent in the following, an email wanting to know why we hadn't sent you the information, and you got an answer back saying we were under the impression that you had withdrawn your request. Then I got those questions. I answered those questions. I don't know where it went to. I answered all of those questions. I think I sent them to you.
I initially filed a request under 91A at the request of our delegation chairman. I withdrew that. The feeling was that we should not have to take that step in order to get answers to questions. So I withdrew the 91A request and said a simple request for that information. You did respond with some answers, but as you pointed out, you have only been here 2 years in your role as commissioner, and I thought that the chair of the commissioners should respond to the questions. And subsequent to that, I then filed a second information request related to advance payments for accrued time, which I just read.
Okay, go ahead.
I believe that thing that you just read is, I answered all of those. Now, I don't know whether they weren't sent to you or what, but I answered all of them. And I retyped them. I remember retyping them because I couldn't read my own writing at one point.
Yeah, I don't recall receiving anything in response to these questions.
Okay.
But I also would request a response from the chair, as he has been here for a longer period of time than you have, Commissioner. So I appreciate your endeavor to answer my questions, but I think we need a longer perspective on what has happened in regard to these advance payments. But I thank you.
How far back do you want to go?
Well, just I think the questions speak for themselves, and I'll be glad to.
Okay.
Well, in answering these, Representative, I don't think they speak for themselves. You can't expect David to go back 20 years if he's only been here 12.
On the
and you say
on
forever.
the questions that I just read, there is nothing related to an itemized list of these instances. It's more a question of, have payments been made under these circumstances at any point?
Well, that's my point. How do you expect him to know 20 years back?
I would expect him to have some idea as to the procedure for these requests. He's been here for, I think, what, 14, 15 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
To have some idea as to whether payments have been made under various circumstances and how, under whose authority they are made.
Okay. Did you receive these answers from me? I believe I sent them to you.
I don't recall seeing anything.
Because a lot of my answers were not as long as I've been here.
Right.
And I think you sent back and said...
I thought that was, I'm sorry to interrupt, I thought that was related to the first set of questions on that other page that you were responding to. But I did respond to your note and asked for a response from the chair.
Okay, well, let's not go on television here and say you didn't get an answer, because you did.
And I thank
you may not like it, but you got it.
Right, but I would request an answer from the
and
chair.
I got that, and
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public input? Seeing none, we will move into the agenda. Will, you're on first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a couple of quick things here. Thank you. Pass them on, Commissioner. One's for the minute taker, Commissioner. Just a couple quick things. Updates, and then the main thing I was here for. The garden's coming along pretty good. We've been picking a lot of stuff. I would say 98% or more of it has been going all to the nursing home this year. We haven't really sold very much off of the campus. We've been supplying them, and they've been good about freezing and taking stuff. Getting ready to start second cut hay in the next couple of weeks or sooner. Just trying to get a little growth on it. It hasn't grown back as tall as I'd like, but I'm going to get what we can get out of it. We got a hoop house coming on the 15th of September. It should be here. So we're going to start construction that week. We're hoping to have that completed within a week or so. There's a few more preparations that we got to do between now and then. I started doing some land preparation. We got a little more of that to do, and then we've got to cut
Where's that going?
It's going to go behind the old nursing home, kind of where the garden
was?
Yeah. It's going to set up between actually where the garden is now and where those drainage ditches that they put in. It's going to kind of sit in between those.
Mm-hmm.
If you drive behind the old nursing home and look over on your right hand side, you'll see
it's going east and west, or north or south, or what? Has
I think kind of a northwest southeast type facing. Olivia's been out with me, and Joan Richards has also been out a couple different times, and we talked about placement and everything, and so she's got an agenda of a schedule for us, time schedule for us to kind of complete, and so been trying to follow that to make sure we're ready for the date. She wants to do trial this fall, as soon as we get it put in, between Durham is doing one, over in Grafton County they're doing one, and they want to do one here on onions, winter growing of onions. And then we're also going to possibly try our own little experiment of different greens from spinach and then some different lettuce mixes, because Rob says he can use that kind of stuff over there at the cafe. So that's coming along, or we're working on it. That's going to be another big project that's going to be taking place in the next few weeks. Campfire wood is going out as fast as we can bag it. We had 3 loads going out this week alone, and of course our inventory is now depleted. We don't have really any inventory, so that's already bagged. So we're bagging it as fast as we can bag, and the orders seem to be coming in sometimes faster than we can bag. But
Willie, how many bags would you estimate that we've shipped this year?
well, I had over 7,000 already pre-bagged in that inventory, 7,000 or 8,000, and those are gone. And we've done probably 4 or 5 loads at the end of this week, 4 or 5 loads that we've had to bag as we went.
And how many roughly are in a load?
450. So you're looking at another 2,500.
Roughly 1,000.
Right. So you're looking at another close to 2,500 on top of that. So I'd say we're at least 9,000. Yep. And then the last thing is that I need to come to get this. DES wants permission to conduct a pharmaceutical residual, thank you, testing. It's a no cost. It's kind of a, from what was explained to me, it's like a trial that they're doing in certain places, and they just happen to pick us to be one of those trial places. The results will be anonymous. They're just kind of compiling to see if at sometime in the future, from my understanding, sometime in the future, if they need to start making regulations for these. So they contacted us 2 weeks ago, maybe, I think it was, looking to do that. And so I just need to see if the commissioners are willing to give the permission for them to do that or not. And they were kind of looking for an answer on that.
I don't see any problem, do you?
Well, I'll accept it if they can, over the years, ratchet down the requirements for what can be allowed in our wastewater. They don't have to come looking very far when they have all the information out of our facilities.
How about you?
That's fine with me.
What is, when they say it's anonymous, if they come in here and take a sample and they go to 3 places, it isn't too hard to figure out where it came from. It's got to be 1 of 3.
I thought the reporting would not be. I don't know what that means.
I think Wayne said the gentleman was coming in here. I talked to him yesterday about it, and I think Wayne said the gentleman was coming in next week. Or coming in here with you today, or?
Not that he's not coming. That I was coming to ask you guys permission about this, but not that the gentleman was coming.
Well, I'm just skeptical. I don't want to get in a situation where they come in and test our material, and all of a sudden we've got a new $5 million project to straighten something out that was fine a year ago or 2 years ago by their okay.
Sure.
Well, how do you feel about it?
Do I have to answer that? As the superintendent, and I have to get along with DES, then I say, you know, maybe it doesn't hurt, but as a water commissioner in the town of Ossipee, I would look at the same decisions you guys are making of, is that going to lead to something in the future of what more testing, that's regulations on us. But that's not my decision.
Well, anything
here,
that
so
comes in the future has got to be based on what they found in the past. So personally, I have no problems in them coming and testing our system.
Let me just make just a small example. We got an old nursing home over here that the new one cost us $23,000. We built it old one to federal specifications, and the next thing you know that they're not allowing us to use it because it doesn't meet changes in certification. Same situation could happen here.
Can I ask a question for clarification? What is pharmaceutical residual testing, and what are they going to test, and how are they going to do it?
They're going to test our wastewater to check to see how much of residents' pharmaceuticals are left in the residuals in the wastewater treatment.
Oh, you mean
And the house of correction.
things that may be coming from the nursing home?
Yes.
Our whole system.
The whole system.
So like right now, we take twice a week, for example, we take samples up to Conway, and then also twice a year we have Eastern Analytical come in and do a lot more testing. And there's different residual effects that they only allow a certain amount to come back out and to flow out of your system. So if you're exceeding those, then you have to put in something in your system to take them out before they get out there. And so that's what they're trying to do.
Or not put them in to start with.
Right, but you're going to have a hard time probably with pharmaceutical when we got a nursing home.
Some other questions came up in talking to Wayne about this yesterday. Well, we use almost, what did you tell me, 20,000 gallons a day over the nursing home.
Yes.
Puts us on, that's water coming in that puts us in the reporting as a major user. Going out, he said we're not too close to the limit, but they go on a percentage basis as we approach the next level. The question came up is why we have to test this water for $360 twice a month. Now, why isn't once a month sufficient, or once every 2 months? And it's all based on DES's regulatory standards. And as we approach the limit, then we're forced to do it more often. That's as close as I could get to it. Has anybody ever discussed with them why as we approach the limit, we've got to increase our testing instead of when we get to the limit, we have to increase our testing? I mean, as far as I can see, they can say, well, you're 50% there, you got to start testing 3 times a week.
Right.
I mean, why did they set the limit at twice that if that's the question, or if that's the threshold?
The only thing I can think of to try to explain is on the 20,000 gallons, that's on the water side versus the wastewater.
That's got nothing to do with us except reporting as a major water user.
Right, and we don't really hit the 20,000 except maybe 1/4 of the month, the summertime quarter, we tend to hit 20,000. Other than that, we're around 18 to 19,000. So we were such on that borderline, that's why we just decided, since we were there, it's just reporting the stuff. I started reporting it because we were requested that we were that close, we might as well go ahead and report it. On the other end,
Excuse me, well, that close being how close? Within 10% of the threshold, or 15?
well,
or
1/4 of the year we hit the threshold.
Oh, you did, okay.
You know, usually like
For wastewater?
No, we're talking on the water side still.
Okay.
So, you know, out of 1/4, we do, usually in the summertime, time we get the pools going and the lawns and all that, we tend to hit the 20,000 mark. The rest of the year, we're usually 2,000 to 3,000 below that 20,000 mark, and the 20,000 mark is when you're still supposed to start reporting. That's on the water side. On the wastewater side, I can't remember the exact amount. I want to say that we run somewhere between 15 to 16,000 average that's going out.
Yep.
So I think it's 20,000 again on that end before you have to start doing extra testing. But I don't know. I'm confused. Also, I guess I'd have to talk to DES.
Can you get us an answer why we have to test the wastewater twice a month?
Sure.
Please.
I mean, I know that the answer for sure is going to be because of the amount that we do and the size of our system. They got a regulation that says that's what we have to do. Because, you know, I don't see us every $320 every week or every 2 weeks of doing that just to do it for fun. I mean, we're going to have
obviously they got some reason. But
right. It's going to because we're following regulations.
This is an administrative rule, right?
Yes. The next
Okay.
question would be, if that we're hitting that close to the threshold, and we have to do it twice a month, what happens when we hit the next threshold? Do we have to do it 4 times a month?
Well, let's get back to the requests. Do I hear a motion to
Yes, so
Approve?
moved.
Your motion is to give permission to conduct the pharmaceutical residual testing?
Yes.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
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 I'll
All
hold
those
my nose
opposed?
and say aye too.
You what?
I will hold my nose and say aye also.
Okay, then it's unanimous. Anything else, Will?
That's all I had. I don't know if the commissioners have anything for me.
Question, I don't remember seeing any kind of a report regarding the repair of our field. Is that completed? Or what's the,
Yes.
what stage are we in?
They've completed that. They also put a chain across up there because they had went and did some finish work, and then someone came in on a dirt bike or four-wheeler or something of that nature and put more ruts in, so they, within a day or so. So they fixed it again, and then this time they put a chain up. We've left that up until the grass gets well established before we worry about that.
So you're satisfied with the work that was done?
Yes, overall. Yep.
Okay. Okay, any other questions of Will?
No.
If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Can I ask for clarification? Are you referring to the right-of-way that was granted?
Yeah,
When you're
the
speaking of-
logging job that was done behind our property.
Thank you.
Mitchell? Yeah. Good morning, sir.
No.
Thanks for, I was invited by Mr. Babson to come and speak to you today about an organization we're working to set up in Center Ossipee.
Okay.
The organization's called White Horse Addiction Center. And I'll give you, I have a sheet here that kind of will explain what we're doing, if you would pass it around.
Thank you.
I'll just kind of go with this sheet to kind of bring you up to speed. White Horse Addiction Center is going to be a Christ-centered residential drug and alcohol regeneration program for men. It's going to be established in Center Ossipee. Currently, we're with the zoning board in Center Ossipee to get a special exception. We need that to run a residential program within the village district there. The mission of White Horse is pretty simple. We're looking to educate and transform and regenerate men that are suffering from addiction, trying to restore them back to their families and the communities that they live in. Currently in New Hampshire we have about 1.3 million people, and out of that we have about 113,000 that are addicted in some way to drugs or alcohol. In Carroll County alone we have about 4,000 people that are addicted. If we went just with the average number of people in a location, we need about 116 locations in New Hampshire, and we don't even have a portion of that today. Only about 6% of the people that are impacted today have an opportunity to be treated or to do something about the addiction problem that they suffer. We're looking to be based in Center Ossipee and pull from Center Ossipee in the beginning, but eventually the program will touch on to people from all over the state and maybe even outside it, as we grow this organization. We probably, I think in the United States today we have about a $600 billion cost associated with addiction. That's in crime, health care, property damage, and things like that. In New Hampshire alone, we have about $1.5 billion that we spend annually on this problem. So what we're looking to do is have an impact on that. The impact will start small. This organization is based on a group in Atlanta, Georgia called No Longer Bound. No Longer Bound has been in business for about 30 years. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to go to work on the board of directors for No Longer Bound. At the time, they had about 35 men a year in the program, and they operated on one campus. Today, they have about 80 men a year in the program, and they operate on 3 campuses. So it's significantly grown. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but their success rate down there is way ahead of the industry standard. Most rehabilitation centers will have a success rate that runs in the 30 to 40% range. In other words, every 3 to 4 men out of 10 that come through the door will actually leave and not go back to drugs or alcohol or their addiction issues. No Longer Bound's program runs about a 70% ratio. So, you know, almost double the rest of the national average in what they do. So No Longer Bound doesn't consider themselves a rehabilitation center. That's one of the big differences, and we won't either. We'll be operating in the same program. No Longer Bound's folks are actually training our folks. It's their materials that we'll be using. So it's basically we're repeating the program that they have down there and remodeling it up here for this area. They believe that rehabilitation is just restoring something back to a previous state. In this program, we believe in regeneration. So we actually fundamentally changed the man. That's why we need the residential program. It separates the man from not just his family, but all of his surroundings and everything he dealt with. And we begin the process of kind of reforming how they look at the world, how they operate in the world, and what they do. So we actually call it a regeneration. It's like a rebirth. We change the man from the inside out. Our goal is to take a man that is in a cycle of in and out of addiction to not going back to that addiction at all. No Longer Bound has been doing it for 30 years, so that their 70% is a track record over that 30 years. They started with about 6 men in the program. Like I said, today they run about 80 at a time. We're going to start with about 6 men in the program, and then we'll run the program for a year, we'll evaluate. And then our goal is to get to a cycle where we bring men in every 3 months, and men will be going in and out. The program runs 10 months, and then we run a follow-up 10-month program to that called SLT, which is Servant Leadership Training. That is where we train the man to actually become involved in the ministry itself and go on to teach and be a leader to try to help pull other men out of it. Every man that goes to the program has an impact on at least 5 to 10 other people, family, community around them. So we also run a family program. As the men gets into the 3rd month, we begin to work with and educate the family too on how to deal with this and what this is involved with. Whitehorse will become a resource center for the community. We will offer resources for people that just have questions about addiction, that need support, and we can direct them in other locations. We'll work closely with any state agencies, United Way, groups like that, to help with this. When the men come in, some of the questions we've had is what's the impact of the community to the community itself? So when the men come in, are these going to be dangerous men that are coming into a community? Are we going to put the community at risk in any way? And the answer is no. We will pre-screen all the men coming in. Any violent offenders or any sexual offenders won't be brought into the program. The other question we had was, how do men come in? We may have men referred. They could be referred to us through the court system, but a referral doesn't mean an acceptance. The man that comes to us has to want to be there. It can't be a mandated program where people come to us because they were mandated and they have to satisfy some kind of a sentence or something like that. We'll take them and everybody will get the same opportunity to be able to go there, but there's an application process that they'll go through, there's an interview process. They have to understand it's faith-based. They have to give us a reason why they want to do a faith-based program. And as we bring those men in, part of the reasons for the success is It's not a mandated program. It is a voluntary one. The man has to pay. We ask a small amount of money from them to come in. That's paid up front. It's a zero tolerance program. If something happens and they don't complete it, they don't finish it, they don't get that back. They know it. We're looking for that commitment from them. It's less about getting that money and more about the commitment we have and, to get the men in there. It's also a cottage-based industry. We will actually have operations like a thrift store, eventually a Cars for Recovery. No Longer Bound has graphics, a graphics studio, things like that. The idea is that as a man goes through the program, they don't just get classroom work and group work, but they actually get real work experience. We put them into an environment where they're actually using the tools that we give them every day, and we can control it. So it's the ministry will help, those ministries and industries will help support the overall ministry, but they aren't the driving factor. If we're in a thrift store environment, say, and one of the men is having a problem that day, we'll shut the thrift store down, we'll shut the industry down, and then we will regroup and meet and do what we need to. So the men is the most important part of it. No Longer Bound's industry support about 85% of the cost of the operation, and that's our target goal. Our goal is to get into the high 80s. At first, we'll work through corporate donors, private funding, but eventually we look to stand on our own. Probably between 80 and 90% of our funding will come internally. You can go online and look at No Longer Bound. They have some good information out there. It's just www.nolongerbound.com and see what we'll be doing and how we'll run this ministry here. I guess I'd have to ask you, have any questions? I mean, drug and alcohol is a huge problem today. We just don't have enough resources. It's been recognized within the state that we don't have enough resources. As commissions have been set up, as funding's been set up, but today only a portion of that funding actually makes it down to these organizations that need it. Our goal is to begin with a men's program, develop it and grow it, and then eventually expand it to a women's campus, develop and grow that also. In the second and third year, we'll begin a ministry with the men that have been through the program, but we'll do an outreach and work within the community to help go to schools and go to different locations that invite us to help educate the younger folks. Any questions or anything?
Dave?
Yeah, go ahead. I've got several.
The reason I asked Mitch to come in here, he came, I'm on the zoning board, he came before the board last week. And what I wanted to do is have you two also hear what we heard, which we just heard today, and then see if it's something that might be worthwhile working with Jason Henry about, because we have, I think they're pathetic resources for rehabilitation for drugs and alcohol in this county. And as we know, most of the young people over here are in there for some reason related to drugs or alcohol. And I wanted you to hear them and see if it was worthwhile talking to Jason, and maybe somewhere along the line, if they get the okay from the zoning board in Ossipee, that we could work together, and even if it's just one person, that we can keep from coming back to this place, we're ahead of the game.
The good news is, too, one of the things we've done is we're partnering with No Longer Bound in Georgia. So if we got to a point where we have more people than we have capacity for here, No Longer Bound is offered to interview and potentially take some of these folks down there. And we can move them down. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Let me ask you this question, Mitch. Is there some way in your program to work minimum security inmates into a program such as yours? Obviously, they wouldn't be spending the night at your house, but
yeah, probably not in the first year or so until we've established and we've got the residential program up and running. But we do plan to run, like I want to call it outpatient, but we plan to run classes that will be for the community and other people One of them is called Inner Healing, where we actually work with people that may not need to be in the residential side, but have issues, and we can expand on that. We're working closely with First Congregational Church in Ossipee, FCCO. They have a program called Celebrate Recovery, where we will work alongside of them also. So I guess a short answer to a longer question is yes, there's potential for that.
Well, that's what we would be interested in here.
So the whole program, even the one in Georgia, is all religious-based.
It's a Christ-centered program, that's correct.
And you're going to have volunteers?
Yes.
Both?
We'll start with volunteers, but as with No Longer Bound in Georgia, they have a full paid staff too. You need.
How do they fund their program?
It's through the cottage industries. 85% of their funding comes through the industries that they operate. So they have a web studio, graphic design.
And who pays for that?
It's all paid for through the work that they do. So they sell graphic work and stuff like that. They have a huge thrift store that they operate. They have a furniture operation that they do. All these things have been built over the course of 30 years.
Yeah.
They do it. In the beginning, they were funded by like the United Way, corporate sponsors, and they still have corporate sponsorship that comes in. I work for UPS, and we provided some funding to them. You know, and I just came out of the corporate world, just retired myself after 34 years. So I will be tapping some of those resources to help fund this program.
Why do you need planning board approval?
In,
because of the building?
Yeah, in Center Ossipee, to run a group home in the village district is a special exception.
Okay.
So we have to go to the zoning board to secure that special exception to operate that.
Did I understand you to say that you're going to be changing the environment of these people that are coming out of our institution that would be going out on the economy? You would take those and change their environment so that they're no longer in a house with others that pursue the same what I want to call it, drug program or whatever they have at their home.
Our goal is to provide them with a safe environment, a quiet environment where there's no access to drugs or alcohol. There'll be a house manager that lives with them 24/7. So in the first 10 months to 12 months that they're there, they're supervised 100% all the time. And it's to keep them away from any possibility of drugs and alcohol being reintroduced in the environment. You know, when this center stands up, there's going to be people in the community that know and would love to get in there and try to sell them some stuff, right? We're going to make sure that can't happen. So that's the environment we begin with. And then in the next 10 months, they'll move into more of a leadership role where there's less supervision, but still supervision. And they begin learning how to teach this process to the rest of the community, not just within No Longer Bound, not Whitehorse, but to other groups. And then there'll be finally, as a third phase that will kick in, it's an aftercare program. It operates kind of like a halfway house where the men will secure a location where they can live. Again, it will be kind of a monitored location, drug-free, alcohol-free, zero tolerance. If they come back and they've done something they shouldn't, they're out. And they'll know that all the way through. So the entire process is about a 3-year process to get them through it. And it's a rolling process. They mature and grow with it as they go through it. What we found with the No Longer Bound folks that come through is most of them come out to be leaders within the community, different things. I mean, we've got pastors that have come out of it. We have corporate leaders that have come out of it. You know, a lot of these people that go in there have a lot of it, you know, have good education. You know, alcohol and drugs doesn't discriminate against who it takes down. So some of the people that come through, it's a matter of getting them so they can function again in society and then use those skills they had once again, you know, that they've lost. I mean,
how would your organization differ from Alcohol Anonymous?
So that's based on a 12-step program. Ours is basically a 6-step program. We don't go through the same process that they do. Originally used some of those, but we've actually matured past that and have some different techniques that we use in there. So it's a little different than that.
Good.
Mitch, this is Jason Henry, our superintendent of the jail. It was my error. I intended to tell him that you were going to be here this morning, but I forgot to tell him. Mitch is proposing a alcohol and drug rehabilitation center in Ossipee, and since we've got such dynamic resources here for help with those people here at the state level, I thought that maybe there might be down the road something that might come out of it that would be useful for working here with the jail. And I'm sorry I didn't get to you, Jason. I forgot all about it, but maybe you two could get together sometime and see if there is. Mitch just said he thought working with the jail was probably a little ways down the road.
Probably would get referrals though from the jail, I would assume.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
assume.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, I think, and maybe you can back me up, but about 85% of people that are in jail have had some run-in with drug or alcohol.
Yeah, it's very high. Yeah, it's very high.
So that was my thought in having him in here, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, our goal is to be a resource in the community. I moved out of the state. I grew up here, was born here, but moved out over 30 years ago and began a career that took me literally around the world. My heart's always been here. The reason I wanted to come back and retire when I did and come back to start this ministry is just after seeing what I saw at No Longer Bound and being educated on the impact of drug and alcohol addiction, and then seeing the statistics on my own state, you know, I wanted to do something where I can tie in a seminary degree I have along with the experience I have working through No Longer Bound and bring it back here and do something, you know, maybe more meaningful than 34 years of working in a corporate position.
Okay.
You know, we'll be available as we, you know, assuming we'll get the permission to do this, we'll have an office that will be open all the time, and our door will be open to any potential, you know, working with any groups out there that see a value in what we do and that we could potentially work with or help or direct or whatever it is. I mean, this is a big problem, and you have to start someplace, and I think that there's a lot of groups out there today, don't get me wrong, that are doing a lot of work. But I'll give you an example. I mean, Teen Challenge, one of those groups, part of their process actually has built-in failure points where people can come back through the program again. We don't do that. We don't give the men that out. You know, when they go through, it's a one-way street. There's no return trips. So, and we make sure they understand that right up in the front end. Usually the people you get there are the most broken, the people that have pretty much hit the bottom, and they're looking to make a change. And you know, if you could meet some of the people who have been through this and hear the stories, it would have an impact on them.
Okay. Ashley, do you have any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I think it's something that's definitely needed here in Carroll County. I keep saying you see inmates or offenders that walk out of our jail and they have no place to go, some of them. It looks to me like they have to have a huge commitment to getting involved with your organization. So that I hope it goes, I hope it works. It'd be a benefit to Carroll County, I'm sure.
Well, maybe, you know, in another year we can come back and talk to you about some of the success we're having.
There's the man you want to talk to right there.
Yeah. That would be great. We'd like to hear success stories. as well as improvements to, so that they all become success stories and not just failures. Any further questions? Nope. Any questions from the public? Go ahead, Ed.
There's an organization called Goodwill. You mentioned a furniture outfit that helps out. Goodwill does the same thing, and I was wondering why there aren't any Goodwills up here. It's a franchise. Is there any possibility of opening more of them up?
I mean, it's possible. We aren't affiliated with Goodwill. The furniture that these men do, actually, they build furniture and they restore furniture, but we'll have a thrift store, which is basically Goodwill. People donate, the inventory gets sold, and then they take that money and use it for other things. So, I mean, we'd support if there was a Goodwill that wanted to come in, and if anything we could do, we would support that too.
Has there ever been any kind of comprehensive study of why people become addicts? As I see it, economic despair, injury, they go to a physician, and I don't see any effort of physicians getting into jail because they're issuing these high-powered medications, and people become addicted to it. So I don't see any effort to restrict the physicians from doing that.
There's a lot of reasons why people become addicted, and you know, you got to look all the way down into your elementary schools today. One of the biggest groups right now that's beginning to suffer from addiction are the kids 11 years old and up. They're stealing prescription drugs from home. You know, they're getting the opiates and they're selling them in school. They're partying. What's the latest one with the incense that the kids can go buy? You know, 48, I think in the last week, 48 overdoses in Manchester alone. So you have to look not just at the adults. I mean, if you want to go the root cause, you need to go back further. You need to get into the elementary schools. You need to get into the younger kids to find those causes. And there's a lot of studies out there. If you go online, I mean, you can go crazy trying to find all the statistics and studies, but the trouble is none have an answer.
Follow-up?
Can I ask a question?
I want
Public?
Go ahead.
Perhaps I missed, but when you get approval from the zoning board, from that point to opening, what does that time period look like?
We expect it will be about a year to get the first residential men in, but we're looking at about 3 months to begin our first educational programs. We have some folks who are just waiting for us to be able to get in from No Longer Bound that are going to come here and train the staff that we have to run a program called Inner Healing. So we look to open Inner Healing up within 3 months of getting the go-ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I was going to say to Ed, you know, my theory was, most of my life was throw them in jail and lock them up and throw away the key. I would suggest if you're really interested in wanting to know why they get addicted or how they get addicted, that you come up several noon times and go over here with the citrus crew over in the maintenance barn and let them get to know you a little bit, and they'll open up, and you'll find I've learned an awful lot just sitting there listening to these kids, a lot of it is just plain stupidity, and others are circumstances. And if you want to find out how they got there, that's the place to go.
And I also think voluntary actions are good. So goodwill and getting the community involved voluntarily, I think is really good. I mean, there's road cleanups. I mean, we clean a road. A group of friends of mine clean a road over in Belknap County, and I thought if there were people who were previously in jail or addicts, you know, you learn by doing daily activities to get yourself out of that, and that I think would help. So there's plenty of avenues for voluntary action for people to get involved so they understand the problem. Because I bet you everybody in this room has someone in their family that has had problems with alcohol or drugs. So it's a serious problem that I think everybody has to attack the problem.
It is. It's a community effort. One of the things we did is we partnered with a church, and I did that for a reason. There's a lot of people in FCCO. And through engaging that church, we've already secured a lot of volunteers. And those volunteers are getting their entire families involved in this process. And to your point, whether it's cleaning up or working with a home someplace or painting this one, but they're getting exposed to this problem, and the kids are. So for us to be strong in the community, we needed a big community base to start with. So we joined, you know, FCCO is not directly affiliated with us. We're leasing some property off from them, but at the same time, we've spent the last year working with this congregation preparing to do this, so they understand what it is. So, I mean, I don't know how many members they have there, but they've already been exposed to this communication. They are beginning to get educated on what this is and what it means to the community, you know, what addiction is. So that will give people like, you know, through the church, that's going to give people an exposure to the jail system and people that are out there too, as these men come through this program, and they're going to get educated about some of that. So, you know, working even with folks like you and working through the jail systems and other groups in the community, this is how we're going to educate this community. And I say community, I'm talking about Carroll County, New Hampshire, and beyond.
You could also approach businesses too, because people that even are working every day, there are working drug addicts.
Oh, they're highly functional addicts out there. I've met a few of those, but eventually that all crashes down. You know, and that is where it impacts the community, sometimes in pretty bad ways.
And it impacts the economy. And
well, $600 billion nationally, $1.15 billion in New Hampshire last year was the estimate that it impacted us. You know, we live in a state where we have alcohol superstores on our borders. You know, our state, the state of New Hampshire, has funding and programs to do something about this on one hand, and on the other hand, they're the biggest seller of alcohol out there. So we have a problem right here at home. You know, that someday maybe we can address that.
Go ahead, one more.
So you do agree then that the state is actually using their own resources to possibly support more drug addiction?
Well, if you sell alcohol, then in indirect ways you are.
So it's incentivizing it.
You know, we put our stores on the border. I don't know. You know, I can't. I'm not going to point any finger directly at anything. I'm just saying what the fact is and where it's located, what we do. You know, 1.13 billion it costs New Hampshire. I don't know how much revenue we make off that, but.
Thank you.
Do you look for jobs for these people before they leave your program?
Part of the end of the program, in the last couple of months, we do, I guess you can call it career training, where we teach them how to develop their resume. We work with them developing resumes. We'll help them go out and actively look for jobs. We'll point them in a direction. Our goal is to, once it's up and running, is to go out and work with local businesses, educate them on these people that are coming out. There's a stigma attached to someone that's got been through addiction, and people are afraid to bring them on. So we have to do some changes to help them see that. I will be leveraging some of my corporate contacts to bring them in here to do training. And it'll be career training. It'll teach people how to talk and do interviews and do things like that. So that's a part of the program as they go through it.
Becky, you had a question?
I just wondered, under your program, what made you choose Ossipee, New Hampshire?
I grew up in Conway. My family lives in Freedom and other places. My son went to FCCO, so I guess it's a little bit of, I don't want to say, maybe I'm a little selfish because I wanted to do the area I was going to live in. You know, I live in Freedom now. I bought a home here. So, you know, my heart has always been in New Hampshire. It's always been in the White Mountain area. That's where I grew up. That's what I know. That's where my family lives. That's where my grandkids live. I just had 2 new granddaughters born the other day, twins. And I look at them and I think, what's this world going to be like if something doesn't change? If we don't change this, and when they go to school, are they gonna go to a party where kids dump pills in a bowl and reach in and grab them and share them? Is that gonna be what my grandchildren face? It's not gonna be if I have anything to say about it. You know, it's time that people stood up and just said enough. We have to do something. Whether it's eventually, I don't want to start any political stuff, but if it's eventually looking at the state and saying, hey, why are we selling alcohol on our borders? You know, if it's a matter of getting into our churches or our businesses and saying, look, we need some help. We need to stop this. You know, you got broke into last night by someone, you know, that needed money to buy their drugs or their alcohol, whatever. We need to do something. It has to start somewhere up here. I love this state too much to watch it be. You know, New Hampshire's ranked one of the worst in the nation. I think in the last ranking it was #1. The average in the United States is at 8%, 8 addicts to every, 100, 8%. New Hampshire's 11. We're 3% higher than the national average. You know, it's we got a lot of problems. You know, we just got to stop looking the other way. I didn't know a lot about it until I met an organization that did. You know, and through that organization, I've had a chance to talk to the men that are in the program and see why and what it is that pulled them in. And you know, I met a guy that was making over $200,000 a year, but he was a high functioning drug addict. And just before he came to No Longer Bound, he lost his family. He was living under a bridge, literally. You know, so.
You related to the Yettons in Conway?
Yes.
The electrician?
Yeah, my dad was electrician, Georgia.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I had a question about the location. I'm familiar with the property that the church owns and the various buildings, so.
The old Nelson property.
It's the brown and the blue buildings that's sitting there. The really funky blue one and the brown in front.
Yeah.
We'll be painting those. And
Okay. The kids did a great job with that building.
Yeah.
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 So you'll be leasing one as an office and one as the
Yeah,
residential? Or how
the
does
back
that-
building used to be a carpet shop. We're going to make that into the administration, classrooms, boardroom, and a thrift shop. And the front be residence.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank you very much for coming in and educating us about the drug situation in New Hampshire and nationwide, and what you hope to do to reduce that. So thank you very much for coming in, and good luck.
Thank you.
Please stay in contact with Jason, because that's where we really need the help.
I'll see if I can get the numbers for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is work session. You want to report on the corporate extension meeting last night?
Yeah, we had a corporate extension advisory board meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't vote. But the things that were discussed was Olivia Saunders talked about the hoop house. It's going to be 32 by, I think, 80, and it's not going to be heated. They'll do their research on extending the growing season without any more heat. I also asked Ann if she would go to the higher-ups, and the higher-ups are UNH, and see if we couldn't maybe start some discussion about having them pay up front on the rent to the county if they were to move down here, and then at some point lower the rate after because the delegation obviously isn't going to give us any money to do it. And UNH doesn't have a lot, so that might be a way to go. I also asked them to think about, they hadn't thought about it, but I asked them to think about it. When the greenhouse is going to be 32 feet wide, maybe making the center aisle 6 or 8 feet wide, so we could take the golf cart with the residents through the residents from the nursing home. They're out every day on the golf cart or the trailer in the golf cart, and it's really been a success, and it'd be a nice place for them once once it gets going up and built and growing things, to be able to get down the aisle. And the other big issue was the funding that's been dictated by UNH, or the budget, on the budget write-up. It isn't clear. Our treasurer for the county has very little to do with anything, including looking at the checkbooks. So we've asked that they have the powers that be that manage the money come, so we can talk to them and tell them that we'd like some control over where the money goes. That was quite an issue. It took quite a bit of time.
You're asking that the money that the county gives to cooperative extension, that the county should have some control over?
No, that the local cooperative extension office.
Yeah.
For instance, all the billing and requisition comes out of UNH. It's billed, it goes to UNH.
That was changed a couple of years ago.
Yes, with a new upgrade.
Yeah.
And we want to have our treasurer have some idea.
County treasurer
County.
or their treasurer?
The cooperative extension.
Treasurer.
Carroll County treasurer of the advisory board have some oversight on what's happening with watching the budget. For instance, they had, let me think. There was one item there, it was, we'd used up 100% of it, and the reason we had is because the budget revenue was built into one line item, and the expenses were coming out of another section of the budget. It just didn't make sense, and so we're going to have them up and discuss it and see if we can't get something that everybody can understand. And that was about it.
Okay, you got anything else to report on?
I don't believe so.
Do you have anything to report on?
No items.
I neglected to report a week ago or so that better than 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, the nursing home was used as a court of honor for Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
I went to that and presented a certificate of achievement for the Eagle Scout from Ossipee. It was very well attended. A lot of the residents were in attendance, plus family members and others that were interested. This one particular leader, Mr. Remington, has had 3 Eagle Scouts go through his mentoring system, which you have to be dedicated to do that kind of a thing. But anyway, it was well done. Representative Nelson was there, and Representative Merrill was there. They each read from a politician, like the senators and representatives in Washington, that they had written to honor this young person that developed a program to become an Eagle Scout. Okay, I guess under work session, we need to take some action on Becky Mason's request. Should that be in non-public or public?
We need to do it first in non-public, and then it become public after that, because we need to, it is like negotiations of compensation.
Okay.
And then it becomes public.
Okay.
Then the amount what you get. I also want to remind the commissioners that if there are also in the past other compensation given to employees, it needs to be made public also. It cannot stay non-public.
Okay. I guess I'd ask if there's any public input at this point.
We're going to go do a work session?
We're
Well,
done
what do
with
you got?
work
You
session.
got something else for
I
work
got a lot.
session? Go ahead. I thought you was all done.
No, you didn't ask.
Okay.
Being polite. The first thing we got to do, are you going to answer Representative Cadelli's question?
Yes, I will.
My opinion is that that he's perhaps overstepping his limits, responsibilities when he wants you to report on what happened in 1986 and you weren't here. I think you shouldn't be expected to go back any further than the time that you've served here.
I just want to make a comment quick.
Yeah.
If there is cassette fences or whatever you call it given away, there should be records. It shouldn't be that difficult to get it. We
No,
have all these
they're being-
employees, if you give compensation, whatever you give to them, there is a record of the payout. So what is so difficult about it?
There
If
isn't.
everything keeps accurate. You
There
can
isn't
go
any
back.
difficult.
You can go back 20 years because there need to be financial records, right?
Mhm. Yep. And I believe all of that, the three that I was involved in, I think was all done in non-public. I'm sure it was.
And they were done in the last 2 years, the
Yeah.
last 3 years.
I don't
They're
remember.
not since I've been here, so it was the last 2 out of the last 3 years when both of you were here.
I think I made a statement last week or 2 weeks ago that in my time, there's been less than 5, and there may be just 3. I don't recall. I know there were 3 that were given out based on sick time that they would have been paid anyway, but
Accrued time.
accrued time. There was no loans given, so that can be easily answered. Okay.
So that's Cardelli's question. The next thing is, we've been notified that finally the financial statement for 2010 is finished.
The draft,
The draft is finished.
we have it in hand.
And that, I guess that Jack sent an email saying to them that we wouldn't send any more cash till we got something. We've now got it, and I would hope that if he looks at it and sees that it's satisfactory, that we pay them and
The
move
checks have
forward.
been
And
sent already?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I know
Okay.
so.
I thought so.
No.
All right.
So I would suggest that we tell Jack if they're in order that we pay him and move forward into the next year.
Okay.
Well, we finally get something, and that's what I have.
Yes, I have a comment. So we have the draft downstairs, correct?
Yes.
So I like to see that.
Mhm. Okay, anything else?
No.
We have a meeting Monday, right?
Delegation meets.
Delegation meeting, but the subcommittee meets at 8:30
For what?
for the old nursing home?
I didn't see any, was it on the, I didn't see any notice in the, maybe on the webpage, but they usually send all of the parties involved notice that they're gonna have one.
Delegation, when they met last, made a statement that the delegation would meet at 10 o'clock. The subcommittee of the old nursing home annex would be meeting, I believe, at 8:30.
What are they gonna discuss?
At 8:30?
The same old thing. What their recommendation is going to be, tearing down the 2 wings.
Oh, well, they've got to talk about the fact that they yanked the roof out of the bid, and we may
Right.
have to go out for a bid again if they don't do something about it.
It's, there was a big push to take down the 2 wings, and all of a sudden, we're doing the laundry before we take down the 2 wings. I wish they would make up their minds as to what they're going to do. We put out bids, we get bids back. They don't like the bids, so they're changing it, because it didn't specify what they wanted done.
And remember, they'll still have to do laundry after election day.
They'll have to do what?
Still have to do laundry after election day. We got an election coming up, and I don't think any of them want to stick their neck out. And we've gone back and forth, do the roof, don't do the roof.
Yep.
Take down 2 wings, put 2 wings up, have the probation in here, don't have them in here. Use the
Cooperative
kitchen
extension.
use the cooperative extension, they voted at least 3 times to move them down here, but they haven't funded it. The kitchen, do we sell the equipment, keep the equipment, look for a donut company to come in and make donuts, and I mean, it's election time. Maybe when we get another delegation, they may, things may change.
I think all this does is lessen the credibility of the delegation in giving advice to the commissioners as to what to do. We've tried to do what they've asked. The bids came in saying that the roof does not need to have a new roof, that it could be repaired. That's not our doing, but that's what the bids came in as.
And we're very lucky in having a delegation that knows more about the construction business than the people that are doing the bidding. You know, they tell us they don't need a roof, but the delegation says we do, so.
Well, I, for one, I've probably been up on that roof once many years ago, but I don't believe any of them have been up on the roof either.
No.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yep.
Anything else on the work session? If not, then
So we have a subcommittee meeting at 8:30 on Monday.
it's either at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I believe it's 8:30 at the
8:30.
nursing home. 8:30?
Yes.
Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Okay, we do have minutes to approve, so let's get through those. And let's look at July 30th minutes. Anybody have any corrections or a motion to approve? July 30th?
I'll make a motion, we approve it. I think I pointed out somewhere, was it this one that had one typographical error? But other than that, they were fine. One of them said, not a big deal.
You have any corrections, Commissioner? Kenny?
1 second, this one. Seems accurate.
I hear a motion to approve the,
I
I
make a
think there's
motion.
already a motion on the floor.
okay. And you second it?
Second.
All those in support of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. That is so voted unanimously. And let's look at August 6th. 8/20/14.
August what day?
August 6th.
6.
It's 6th, okay. Anybody need a copy? I get through it.
Do I hear a motion to approve it? August 6th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of August 6th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in support of the motion say aye.
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 Aye, then so voted.
I think we ought to point out that Melissa has done a very, very, very good job on these minutes.
Let's make that, put that in the minutes. We do have non-public minutes, right?
Yep.
For last week? Okay, we'll act on those then
Non-public session.
in non-public to see if there are any changes to be made.
I have a question about last week. It was posted as non-public meeting, and
Mhm.
you convened and then adjourned to non-public. But when you came back, you didn't immediately recess, you had some public period without a recording secretary here. So
Yep.
I was wondering who would be doing the minutes of
Do you
that
have
public section of.
Let me see, last week. See what I have.
There was some discussion, I believe you took some public comment from Mr. Comeau. According to the video I watched, it was about a
Okay.
20-minute meeting.
The new law went into effect, I believe it was July 21st, that the clerk is responsible for for keeping and recording, or having recorded the minutes, so.
You should have some minutes, right?
I don't have minutes from the public session.
You should.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
In the interest of just
Let me see what I have.
creating the document required and having it available for the public, would you like me to create some minutes for that 20-minute session based on the video? It is posted online.
Yep.
Just to get that, and I'll send it over to Cheryl this afternoon.
If
Okay.
we don't have it here on the board, then that's our only option.
It's not available quite within the window. I'm supposed to have it available yesterday, but it's okay if I send it today.
Yep.
Okay.
So what I have is only the motion. I believe there was a motion last week about the laundry aligning.
But
And
what?
then the laundry
The
alignment.
laundry.
And then we had
That was it.
approving of the processes of the hearings. How we're going to conduct hearing was like a
The
policy.
policy on
Oh, on hearing, right?
Yes, and then I make a motion for reconsideration about a policy, and that failed. There was no second. There were like a few items.
Okay.
things put that together.
See if you can put that together. Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to get an argument about it, but if Commissioner Kenney has all those notes,
Huh?
and the law says you have to write them up in a given amount of time, why weren't they done?
The what? I have those notes.
He's talking about the public meeting.
Yes.
You said you had
Yes, I have
the
those notes,
non-public.
but we have the minute taker. I'm doing the non-public, but I write down all the motions.
Okay.
I have the notes.
Are you familiar with the law that was passed?
Of course,
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Babson, I'm familiar.
Then
Okay.
why, then you have to get the minute done.
Like I
Okay.
said, I'm doing the non-public. Don't
She
we
has-
have,
No.
don't we have a minute taker for the public minutes?
No, she wasn't here. You were here. You knew she wasn't here.
Oh, then I have the notes. I can give my notes what we have.
Okay. She will do she'll do the public minutes. And you have the non-public for next meeting.
I will put some notes
All right,
down.
public input? Yes, Ed?
This is in regards to the New Hampshire DES water testing. I noticed that a lot of times we seem to be making decisions by administrative rule. And just today, you were simply asked permission to have a government agency come on and test our water. You didn't hear any details of what was going to be done. You didn't hear any details of what is going to be tested for.
Pharmaceuticals.
But you had there's no legal guarantee, except for what was said, that privacy is going to be assured. Now, I would say that could be a problem if we don't really know the details of something we're voting on.
Well, we're a public entity. They are the ones that do the testing. They do it annually, so many times a year anyway, and they're looking at pharmaceuticals in particular. Probably those that come out of the jail or out of the nursing home probably. So your question is that we did not get any details?
No.
We acted on something without details?
Yes, and also, if isn't there something already in place for them to test for water? Like, why do they have to ask permission if you're telling me that you're a state agency and they have the authority to do so already? Why are they asking permission? If they're asking permission, that tells me that they don't have the authority. They're asking for voluntary permission. That rule should already be in place. So why isn't it in place?
Good question.
Well, the answer to that is, go see DES and ask them. Well, it is in our function, as you'll find out if you get elected as state representative, to decide to tell the county or the state what they can do here. The pharmaceutical testing is something new. They've never tested for pharmaceuticals. Frankly, I'm not as afraid of the government as you are, and if they tell me it's going to be kept anonymous, I believe that.
Just by their word.
Yes.
About the contamination of pharmaceuticals, there are calculations that can be made. The nursing home, for instance, already knows what drugs are being administered. You don't have to upset privacy rules for that. You can do calculations and output. Doctors do this all the time. They know what's being flushed. And there's a way to calculate what pharmaceuticals are going into the system. And I think legislation needs to control what DEH does, not administrative rules. They should go to the legislature and ask for legislation that assures private property rights and person rights in order to go ahead with anything like this. I've noticed that they automatically go right to administrative rules because they don't want to go through the legislature. Well, the legislature is our representative, and there are people in the building, there are people in this building, and now they're going to test the output. Where do the regulations end? That's my question. And my main thrust of the question is that a decision was made with a very little amount of information. If DES wanted permission, they should have showed up today and gave a presentation of what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. That's my public statement. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Public input? Seeing none, I guess, do we have any other action that we need to take? The laundry's all set. There was something in the minutes, I thought. I lost the minutes. You got the minutes.
Which check?
Way over there. Gotta go back, look at it. I held off in going to
The August 6th?
the restaurant place on East Conway Road regarding having them come look at inventory our things that we have for sale in the kitchen of the old annex.
Oh, excuse me, David, that's another thing. That'd be
And I did not do that because there was someone at the delegation meeting that said, hold off. They wanted a delegation to hold off on that, and so I did not pursue that. Go ahead.
There will be a group of people from those interested, including the Cooperative Extension, a private enterprise, and Mr. Murray, that'll be touring the kitchen area. I believe it's tomorrow, and deciding and helping them decide whether they want to continue to move forward. There's been a lot of interest generated in the in using it, and I think at some point we've got to decide how we want to do it. And do we want to be in the real estate business?
No.
Do we want to just collect the rent? Do we want to rent the whole place out and sublet from the person that now has a lease on the entire building, or how we want to do it? Frankly, I would just, and I told them last night that we're not interested in deciding who's making piccalilli today and who's making zucchini bread tomorrow. That a group has to rent it, do their own scheduling, and all we're looking for is a rent check every month and the responsibility of keeping the building up where it needs repair. That is our responsibility.
They have to show some kind of insurance coverage on damages to the building.
Yep.
Insurance coverage on the food that they prepare, so that we're not held liable.
Well, I think that comes later. The point is,
Yep.
we don't want to be the one scheduling who's using it today.
Correct.
And I made that clear to them.
Okay.
Oh,
There's probably
question.
Yes, Becky.
I saw you were talking about getting rid of the rest of the stuff down at the nursing home, like bureaus and all that, and I still suggest that you use Auction International. That's what the state of New Hampshire uses it. You can bundle it up in any bundles you want. They put a time frame on it. You can put a minimum bid. You can have it sold as one bundle. They sell old equipment, states of New York, Massachusetts, everybody uses it. It's called Auction International.
Auction?
Auction International. It's an
Oh,
online-
Auction International.
Yeah,
okay.
it's an online, and the person who bids on it is responsible for going to the place to collect the goods if they have the winning bids. So the state of New Hampshire uses it, there's the state of New York uses it, state of Massachusetts. I don't know how many towns and cities use it, but they put everything on there from computers to used cars to police cruisers to fire trucks to plows to anything, so.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
I had a action item from the minutes. It says that Bob Murray would be creating an inventory of all the equipment that's in the kitchen
Right,
and
right.
putting together an RFP. So even if there's a group interested, will there still
He
be an
still has
RFP
that,
going
yeah.
out? And the delegation had hoped that there would be a representative from Ron Bulio would be at their meeting on Monday.
That's
Yep.
their responsibility.
It is, okay. Right, thank you.
Okay. Nothing else?
No. I'll make a motion that we go into non-public under RSA 91A 3, paragraph 2, A and C.
I actually have some stuff that could be public first before we go into
You had some public? All right. Hold off on your motion. It hasn't been seconded. Go ahead, Jason. Sorry about that. Lynette, do you have anything for public?
Morning.
Good morning.
Come on.
Good morning, Pete.
Everybody want a copy? Want a copy?
Yeah, please.
I only have a couple of things. One, I would just like to publicly say a couple of thanks to a couple of officers, Officer Gina Lucier and Corporal Harley Loud. We had one of our officers basically got stung by a bee, had some issues, and they did an outstanding job helping that officer along. So I just want to let you know they did a great job. That being said, last week I went to the Chiefs of Police meeting. That went also very well. Our rapport back and forth is communication is going very well. They seem to be happy, and our relationship is working very well with the Chiefs of Police. I don't know if you guys mentioned it. Did you mention Public Safety Day this weekend?
Is that with the Sheriff's Department?
Yeah, the Sheriff's Department's doing Public Safety Day from 10 to 2
Yeah.
on Complex.
Yep.
Okay. We're also sending a staff member with a cruiser over for the kids to go in and look at as well, be part of that day.
Okay.
And I'll be up for a couple of hours as well. The other part I have is the jail roof. We put out an RFP, it was due way back in June. We had no responses. We called a bunch of different places. The one company that they did put a response in was Prime Roofing Corporation. They worked on the nursing home as well. I talked to Bob Murray, very happy with their work. I provided you with their quote, recommending that we move forward with their quote, but I also recommend that we look at using the settlement from the wall fund to pay for it.
David, you were a commissioner when we built this jail.
Yeah.
Don't we have any kind of a guarantee, warranty on the roof? They're usually 20 years and it's only been 10. Or doesn't this fall under something? Has this been hit with an axe or a?
I couldn't tell you. I know that what's on there with RFP, the cap needs to be bigger than what it is. Some of the rubber grommets need to be redone. This company's the only one that actually walked the entire roof. They have all the pictures. They have everything. They actually looked at it last year too.
David, where do we go to find out what, when we signed the agreement to build this place, what the warranty is? And is it with Northern Granger that immediately went out of business when they got through working here? Or is it with the roofing company itself? Or what? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that if we've got a 20-year warranty that we should be replacing it for $11,000 10 years later. But I wasn't here and I don't know.
I
where to
agree.
go. I don't know where to go looking for the information.
But why don't somebody contact then the company who built the jail and did the
Contact who?
roofing?
Why don't you get on the phone, Commissioner?
Contact who?
I thought you were the liaison for the jail, Commissioner Babson.
What?
You're the liaison for the jail.
Contact who, Commissioner?
The company who built the jail and did the roofing. Why are we not?
They're not in
contacting
business
them?
anymore.
Yeah, they went out of business. However, there was a settlement regarding the wall.
But that goes
And
in
the
a
fixing of
general
the wall.
fund. So how are we taking money out?
Which could become some of the problem of the roof, I mean, that wall moving and whatever, but,
But that would give us a lead where to start.
Yeah,
We can do that.
we'll have to go back through. You have any files on the correction for the wall movement? I think I've got some, well, we must have some downstairs, I'm sure. You should have a copy over there though somewhere.
I'll take a look.
Look around.
If you'll find that information, Jason, I'll go start looking for them, see what we can.
I'll go business office after here to see if what they've got.
So this bid from Prime Roofing is for $11,452.
Yes.
Interesting email there.
Yeah.
Shall I read it for the record?
Can I have a copy for the record?
Sure.
Okay. I just emailed that settlement agreement to you.
Basically, it says that their OSHA change does not allow roofers to work from ladders anymore, and there's $100,000 fine if you get caught. You get caught doing so, and that is the reason that the price is so high, because they have to have equipment rather than ladders.
It's $2,500 for a 80-foot boom lift. You got a question?
Yes.
Oh.
Is it roof work on the jail?
Yeah.
Would it be wise to talk to the company that was putting in a bid on the old nursing home? And maybe they could do both jobs at the same time, or?
I can tell you the RFP went out, it was always due back in June, nobody responded. Then it was put back out again, a construction website. Then we called a bunch of roofing companies. People either had a ton of work or didn't want to do anything with a metal roof. And this company that put the bid in actually has done work on the nursing home roof. So that's what I can tell you there.
What he's saying though is...
Oh, I know, that same company.
Is that company that's gonna work on the annex sublets,
He's a general contractor, so
Yeah.
he comes in.
so they could
So we can do
sublet
that.
out this to do this.
We can certainly call him and find out.
Could get a better price, too.
Okay, we'll hold off. It's good for 30 days.
It's a date on it. Melissa, could I have
It's
that
July
copy?
31st.
July 31st.
Well, we got 10 days. Or
It
thereabouts.
doesn't say we have 30 days, but normally that's what it is. Yes, it does. Proposal maybe withdrawn if not accepted within 30 days.
And I'm
Okay.
sure they're willing to work with us. This is last year, I guess, when it was looked at as well, too. This is the only company that showed up last year as well. And actually walked the roof and took all the pictures. So the roof was looked at in 2013 as well.
By these people?
When they put it out, this is the only company that showed up again to look at it. And they did in 2013, and again, they're putting back in for this year. So we can check with that other company about the RFP and
Okay. All right. What else you got?
That's it for,
That's it? Okay, then,
Now can I make my motion?
yes, go ahead.
I make a motion that we go into non-public session under RSA 91A3, paragraph 2A and C. And we have that same thing for Gwinnett at a different time, so I don't suppose we have to do it twice.
It's under A and E,
Is it not the same? Oh, I'm sorry, okay, then ours is just A and C.
so we'll handle those two. And we will discuss the Becky Mason issue. I'll second the motion.
So I'll have to change the motion to be A, C, and E.
Yeah.
So roll call, Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes,
Commissioner Kenney?
Yes.
okay. All set, Ed? Okay, we're back in public session. We have sealed the minutes in non-public based on RSA 91A3 paragraph 2A and C, and also under RSA 91A3 paragraph 2A and E. Those minutes were sealed. However, we did bring up some items that were mentioned in non-public that we want to make up in public, and they were mainly from the jail. And the question was regarding the library at the jail. Were they accepting books for the library? And the answer was soft-cover books.
correct.
Correct?
We'll take some cover books.
Anything else you want to add to the library issue?
We're gonna try to move down the hallway so it's better accessibility for the offenders. As long as we're accepting donations, we could use shoes as well. Strange as
Shoes?
Strange as it sounds, we got a lot of people come in without shoes. And when we release them, we don't have anything on their feet, so we're using our sandals, which costs us money. So a lot of places will take shoes so we can send them out. We won't send them out in bare feet, so we want to. So if you have some donation of shoes, we will take them.
Okay, the other item that we brought up was regard to federal inmates. As was discussed at the delegation meeting, Representative Schmidt said that we need to fill out the application, that it should be a high priority, and that if the revenue comes in, then we can look at other expenses, but until revenue increases, we're limited. Is that correct?
Yes.
You want to add anything else to that? That you're working on it? It's a lot of paperwork?
It's a lot of paperwork. It's like federal government is lengthy amount of paperwork, and I am currently going back to and working on it. So it was
part of it, you ought
started.
to add that, and I've seen because I was in on the initial discussions. It's a lengthy application. There's things on it like how much does it cost for a meal, how much does it cost for the day, that the calculations have to come from the business office. It isn't just Jason can sit down and put this up on the computer and fill in the blanks. It's a lengthy, I forget how many pages it is, but it's huge.
And the suggestion was that we provide some kind of documentation to the subcommittee that would answer the question as to why it has not been done yet, and whether the full application comes in and is available to the subcommittee to look at is up to the interim superintendent.
And
I
he's
think
there
that's-
alone. He doesn't have an assistant nor a secretary or clerk or whatever you want to call her to help fill out, and there's only so much we can expect out of an employee at one time. And
Okay.
I think he's doing a
I
good
think that
job.
covers what we should cover into public, that we covered, that we talked about in non-public.
Correct.
I don't think there was anything else, was there? I mentioned that somebody was willing to donate a complete volume of encyclopedias, but they can't take it unless it's soft covered. So I will inform that individual. Anything else?
Yeah, the only other thing I think you should say, Mr. Chairman, was this discussion in the non-public session was stopped because it became obvious that it was public information
Yeah.
and should come out here,
Okay. You said.
which it did. I don't care who gets credit for it.
Okay.
We did stop the discussion because it wasn't non-public information.
Was there anything else that you can think of that was
Those were the two.
just those two items? Okay. And that's what you have, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then we're all set with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The item dealing with Becky Mason, the board voted not, or to deny your request, voted to deny your request for additional sick compensation.
So,
Okay.
okay, I have a question. So we seal the minutes, you just mentioned you seal the minutes.
Yep.
And now you actually,
No, 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 no. What I said was,
Announce.
we seal the minutes for these right here. I didn't say anything about Becky Mason.
There was
Just
not a
said-
vote to seal those minutes.
I said seal the minutes of 91A3, paragraph 2, A and C, RSA 91A3, paragraph 2, A and E.
okay, so.
Those
this-
were sealed.
This portion you want to leave out, okay, because
Yep.
that is not how we seal it when we were
We have to-
non-public. Okay, so you make an announcement now.
Yep. Okay, anything else that we need
Becky
to?
had a question.
Go ahead, Becky.
No, actually, I have a point of order. I'm a little discouraged that you, one, you mentioned my name. I know I filed in a non-public request under my name, so my name was on the agenda. But you sealed the minutes last week of that non-public, and you just announced in public session what was discussed at that sealed public, non-public meeting, when you said the word compensation. So you released a set of non-public discussion minutes by...
Who said we had to do this in public?
Non-public, I said.
Who said we had to announce it in public?
I didn't.
Usually, if you're going for
Well-
employee compensation negotiations, you do it into non-public.
The
And if
only-
you have that amount, you can come into public and say that this, like,
The
we
only
give
other
the
way we
person
could do this is to
$2,000.
release the non-public minutes. But we didn't seal the public minutes for today.
you mean the non-public.
I'm
You
just
said
saying, at
public.
last week's meeting, you came out of non-public, your non-public meeting, and you sealed those minutes.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
So therefore, no one in this county should know what my non-public was about. You mentioned before you even went into non-public this time, that it was concerning compensation. You released non-public information. Those minutes were sealed last week.
Correct.
It's done. What can we do? We can't take it back.
We can release those minutes.
You
Then
already
if you do, I
said that.
request that they're released entirely with every employee's name that I used.
So how do we,
What you would probably do is, once you come out.
we should have had you in
non-public,
non-public today.
If you were going to discuss that, you would either come back and say, under the sealed minutes of last week, section such and such and such and such discussed and occurred, and the decision has been to deny the request that was discussed in non-public. If you have sealed non-public minutes, you cannot release the information from those non-public minutes. You can make a comment that you denied the request that was occurred during that non-public, but you cannot release the information that was discussed in non-public, unless you unseal the minutes.
Okay, what I
And then
said
if you're going
was,
to unseal the minutes, then I would request that they're unsealed completely with every name that was used.
That will be a
You know,
big hike.
we don't work here in a, we're gonna slip up along the way. I'm sorry that we released him, or whatever the subject was. I don't believe we let on any information what the discussion was about, other than it was compensation.
We denied,
And it's-
we denied the
Denied
request.
the request.
For compensation for sick time.
It's done.
That's a release of non-public. You discussed that in non-public.
Okay, it was, we don't deny it was done, Becky. We can't take it back.
I agree.
We're sorry. Let's move on. We can't do anything else. We can't take it back. We can't leave it up to Becky to do what she has to do if she has to do anything.
Okay. Our mistake.
Right.
Okay, any further business to be brought? Ed?
I assure you, I'm not trying to add another wrench in this, and this should be easy to solve. Last week, you had a public meeting after the non-public, which technically wasn't posted, but you made a decision, you voted on something. I believe it was the XL contract. You may technically have to re-vote on that in public today, because that was a non-posted meeting last week. You only posted a non-public meeting, and there was no public meeting. So there may be some kind of a technical glitch there, but you can easily fix that by just re-voting that in public.
Okay. And what we did with Excel, we voted in the laundry, right?
Yes.
To
So-
reconfigure the laundry, not to repipe it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we give Excel the contract for rearranging or doing that part of his quote for the laundry that we received and accepted a couple of weeks ago.
Second. Noting that this does not include piping from the furnace to the laundry.
It does not include connecting the hot water system to the pellet burner.
Right. Okay, I second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So voted.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn. Unless there's any
Ed,
other
let
public
me ask you a
comment.
question. Is there any way that we can, regarding this issue that was just brought up, solve the situation by releasing minutes of that non-public session since action has been taken?
I would say I wouldn't be the person to answer the question.
You'll be the one to take
I
it to
can't
court,
believe that you
though.
asked him.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, but I'm not, that's a little complicated because you're dealing with the details of.
It was discussed in non-public, but once a decision has been made, I thought we release it.
When it is over, and then you can release it, yep. If you have a compensation, then you can come and release
And we
it.
release it to the public as to the decision that we made.
But
Isn't that correct?
But you have to technically vote to release the information. Did you
Yeah.
do that?
No, he didn't. He just made
No,
it.
but we can.
But last week it was sealed, right?
Right.
And now you came out and that was also sealed. But you just,
So can we
Mr.
release
Chairman?
it right now?
but
Mr. Chairman?
listen, before we went to non-public, you announced that too.
I know,
what we're
I
going.
know all about it. There's a mistake. Go ahead, Commissioner Babson.
Mr. Chairman, before we take any action of opening up any minutes, I would certainly like to see the minutes to see what we're opening up.
Very good point, Commissioner Babson.
Yes, Melissa.
This has come up quite a few times about the release of non-public information, that what you're not supposed to release is the actual discussions that took place, but it's more than okay to release, to announce decisions that you made as a result of those discussions.
Yeah.
Boards do it all around all the time. They'll go into non-public sessions and they come out and they say, based on our discussion there, we voted A, B, and C. Or we decided D, F, and Q. I don't, you
Well,
know.
I think that's
I
what
don't think you're having an issue right now.
I don't see why there's an issue,
I
dude.
don't
I
either.
agree with
This
Melissa.
is
We
my
told her
public
we
opinion,
denied
but-
her request.
We denied a request. We didn't say what the request was.
No, you didn't give any details in as far as the person who was in the session requesting that all names be released. You're under no obligation to do that either. In fact, those people's names, if they weren't here, should be protected by being redacted when you do release the minutes.
Okay.
If you give compensation, we go into non-public, you give a person like $5,000.
What?
And we do the negotiation. I say, for example, if we're going into non-public for compensation for an employee, for example, $5,000. If we agree with that amount, we can,
It becomes public.
It needs to become public, and because we're using taxpayers' money, so
Right.
we need to tell them we give the employee $5,000.
Yeah.
I know there being compensation given, but it is still not public. We need to make it all public. Every compensation given is public
Apparently,
information.
the general consensus is that we announced that the board denied the request that Becky Mason has made. Is that what I said? Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If
All
I
right.
could, you also made another vote last week that you might want to ratify this week. You voted to adopt the procedure for suspension
policy.
and discharge or removal of an employee.
Yes, we did.
The
I'll make a
policy.
motion that we accept the human resource
Yeah, what's it called?
page on the procedure for, not the
Holding
policy,
a
but the
hearing?
procedure, but, can you read this?
The Carroll County procedure for suspension and/or discharge or removal of an employee and for Board of Commissioners hearing.
Thank you.
That's a long title.
Second it.
Okay.
Any discussion on that?
Oh, we have to be taking a whole new motion, right? Because last week was not okay, right?
We're doing it in public.
Okay. So who
Well-
make the motion?
I did.
Commissioner Babson
Okay.
did, I second it. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
I opposed.
Okay?
Did you oppose it last week?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second it. All those in support of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
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 11:59.